If you are a farmer in Europe right now, you already know something is changing. The weather is becoming unpredictable. Some years bring too much rain. Other years bring drought that cracks the soil open like old leather. Input costs are rising, profit margins are shrinking. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you are asking the same question that thousands of European farmers are asking right now. Is there a better way? Today, we are going to answer that question. We are going to talk about regenerative farming, what it is, why it is perfectly suited for the European climate, and most importantly, how you can start applying it on your farm today. Whether you have 5 hectares or 500, this video is for you. So stay with me until the end, because in the last section, I am going to share something that most farming channels never talk about. The one mistake that causes most farmers to fail when they try to go regenerative. You do not want to miss that. Let us begin. What exactly is regenerative farming? You have probably heard this word before. Regenerative farming, it gets used a lot. But what does it actually mean? Here's the simplest definition I can give you. Regenerative farming is a way of growing food that improves the land instead of depleting it. Every single year, your soil gets better, your water retention improves, your input costs go down, your ecosystem becomes more resilient, your farm becomes more profitable over time. This is the opposite of conventional industrial farming, which often extracts from the land year after year until the soil becomes weak, dependent on chemicals, and vulnerable to every extreme weather event. Regenerative farming is not a single technique. It is a philosophy made up of several practices that work together. And here's what makes it exciting for European farmers, specifically the European climate, with all its variety. From the Atlantic coast of Ireland to the plains of Poland, from the vineyards of France to the highlands of Scandinavia, is actually very well suited to regenerative methods. Let me explain why. Why Europe is perfect for regenerative farming. Europe has something very valuable that many parts of the world do not. It has diversity, different soils, different rainfall patterns, different growing seasons. And regenerative farming, unlike industrial monoculture, is designed to work with diversity, not against it. In Northern Europe, countries like Germany, the Netherlands, Denmark, and the UK have some of the most fertile but also most pressured agricultural land in the world. Years of intensive farming have left many soils compacted and low in organic matter. Regenerative practices can reverse this damage faster than most farmers expect in Southern Europe. The Mediterranean climate, hot, dry summers, mild, wet winters, creates different challenges. Drought resistance, soil moisture retention, and erosion control become critical. Regenerative farming addresses all three directly. In Central and Eastern Europe, countries like Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary, and Romania still have large areas of relatively undisturbed land. For these farmers, regenerative methods offer a chance to build long-term soil health before the problems of intensive farming ever take hold. The European Union is also pushing hard in this direction. The Farm-to-Fork strategy and the EU Green Deal have set ambitious targets, reducing chemical fertilizer use by 20%, reducing pesticide use by 50%, and converting 25% of all farmland to organic by 2030. Whether you agree with these policies or not, the financial incentives and grants available for farmers who move towards sustainable and regenerative methods are significant and growing every year. The direction of travel is clear. Regenerative farming is not a fringe idea in Europe. It is becoming mainstream. The farmers who understand it now will have a major advantage in the years ahead. The 5 pillars of regenerative farming now, let us get into the practical heart of this video. Regenerative farming is built on 5 core principles. These are not rigid rules. They are principles that you adapt to your specific land, your climate, and your farm operation. Principle number 1 is minimum soil disturbance. This means reducing or eliminating tillage. When you till the soil, you break apart the underground networks that make your soil alive. Fungi, bacteria, earthworms, and thousands of other organisms create a living web that holds nutrients, stores water, and feeds your plants. Every time you run a plow through the soil, you disrupt and destroy these networks. No-till and minimum-till farming is now being practiced successfully across Europe. In the UK, farmers like John Cherry and the team at Groundswell have demonstrated that no-till systems can maintain and even improve yields while dramatically reducing fuel costs and improving soil structure. The transition to no-till can feel uncomfortable at first. You may see more weeds in the first year or two. Your soil is adjusting. But with patience, farmers consistently report that after 3 to 5 years, the soil becomes easier to manage. Water infiltration improves dramatically, and the need for herbicides actually decreases as the soil biology begins doing its own work. Principle. Number 2 is keeping the soil covered at all times. Bare soil is damaged soil. When rain hits bare ground, it causes erosion, compaction, and runoff. When the sun beats down on bare soil, it kills the microorganisms near the surface and causes moisture to evaporate rapidly. In regenerative farming, you keep the soil covered using cover crops, mulches, or crop residues. Cover crops are plants you grow between your main cash crops, specifically to protect and feed the soil. In Europe, popular cover crop mixes include clover, vetch, phacelia, radish, oats, and ryegrass. The benefits are remarkable. Cover crops prevent erosion, suppress weeds, fix nitrogen from the atmosphere into the soil, and feed the underground ecosystem during periods when your main crop is not growing. When you terminate the cover crop and allow it to decompose on the surface, it adds organic matter that further enriches the soil. For European farmers dealing with wet winters, cover crops also take up excess moisture and protect soil structure from being destroyed by heavy rainfall. This is particularly valuable in Atlantic climates like Ireland, Western France, and the UK. Principle number 3 is diversity. Industrial farming loves simplicity. One crop, one variety, one system, year after year. This makes logistics easier, but it makes your farm fragile. A disease, a pest, a market collapse, a bad season, and you have nothing to fall back on. Regenerative farming embraces diversity at every level. Diversity in the crops you grow. Diversity in your cover crop mixes. Diversity in your livestock, if you have animals. Diversity in the plants along your field margins and hedgerows. When you grow multiple crops in rotation, you break pest and disease cycles naturally. Each crop feeds different microbes in the soil, building a richer and more resilient soil biology. If one crop has a bad year, your others carry you through. In Europe, traditional rotations have always included some of this diversity. Cereals followed by legumes, followed by root crops. Regenerative farming takes this logic further, extending rotations, incorporating more species, and integrating perennial plants and trees alongside annual crops wherever possible. Principle. Number 4 is living roots in the ground as long as possible. This one is closely connected to the previous 2, but it deserves its own attention. Plants feed the soil. They do this through their roots, which constantly release sugars, proteins, and other compounds that feed the underground ecosystem. The more time you have living roots in the ground, the healthier and more active your soil biology becomes. This means extending your growing season wherever possible. It means selecting cover crops that stay green through winter. It means integrating perennial crops and grasses into your rotation. And it means thinking about your farm not as a series of short growing windows, but as a continuous living system. 4. European farmers in northern latitudes with shorter growing seasons. This requires some creativity. But hardy winter cover crops like winter rye, hairy vetch, and certain clovers can keep roots in the ground through all but the harshest Scandinavian or alpine winters. Principle number 5 is integrating. Livestock. This is perhaps the most powerful and most underused tool in regenerative farming. Animals, when managed correctly, are not a problem for the land. They are the solution. Cattle, sheep, pigs, and poultry all deposit manure as they graze, feeding the soil with nutrients and organic matter. Their hooves lightly disturb the soil's surface, creating small pockets where seeds can germinate. Their grazing stimulates plant regrowth, increasing root activity and pumping more carbon into the soil. The key word here is managed. Overgrazing destroys land, but managed rotational grazing, where animals are moved regularly to fresh pasture and given time to rest and recover, consistently regenerates grasslands and improves soil organic matter at a speed that is difficult to achieve through plant-only systems. In Europe, grassland farming is a huge part of the agricultural landscape, especially in Ireland, France, Germany, Austria, and the Alpine regions. Farmers in these areas who switch to regenerative rotational grazing systems are seeing dramatic improvements in pasture quality, livestock health, the ability of their land to withstand both drought and flooding. Practical steps to start. Your regenerative journey in Europe, knowing the principles, is one thing. Starting on your own farm is another. So let me give you a practical roadmap. Step 1. Start with a soil test. Before you change anything, understand what you are working with. Get a full soil test that includes not just the basic nutrients, but also organic matter percentage, soil biology, and pH. This gives you a baseline. In 12 to 24 months, when you test again, you will be able to see the real changes your practices are creating. Step 2. Reduce tillage on one field first. Do not try to change your entire farm overnight. Choose one field and commit to no-till or strip-till for 2 full seasons. Observe what happens. Notice how the soil behaves differently after rain. Notice the change in weed pressure. Notice whether moisture holds longer in dry periods. This real-world observation on your own land will teach you more than any textbook. Step 3. Design a cover crop mix for your climate. This is where getting local advice becomes very important. A cover crop mix that works brilliantly in Kent in southern England may not perform the same way in Bavaria or northern Poland. Talk to local agricultural advisors, connect with regenerative farming groups in your country, and experiment with small plots before committing large areas. As a general starting point for temperate European climates, it's a mix of oats, phacelia, and clover, planted after your main cereal harvest, works very well. It establishes quickly, protects the soil through autumn, and the clover fixes nitrogen for your following crop. Step 4. Build your hedgerows and field margins. This one costs almost nothing and provides enormous benefits. Hedgerows and diverse field margins support populations of beneficial insects that control pests naturally. They provide shelter that reduces wind erosion. They create corridors for wildlife. And they improve the biodiversity metrics that are increasingly being used to calculate farm payments under EU and national agri-environment schemes. Step 5. Connect with the community. Regenerative farming in Europe is a growing movement, and there are communities of farmers sharing knowledge, results, and support in almost every country. In the UK, the Groundswell event has become one of the largest no-till and regenerative farming gatherings in Europe. In France, BASE, Biodiversity Agriculture, SOL, Environment has been running since 2000 and has thousands of member farmers. In Germany, organizations like Demeter and various agroecology networks are extremely active. You do not have to figure this out alone. Connect with others who are already doing it, and your learning curve will be much shorter. The financial reality of regenerative farming in Europe, let us be honest about money, because this is farming and money matters. The transition to regenerative farming usually involves a period of adjustment. In the first 1 to 3 years, you may see some yield variation as your soil biology rebuilds and your system settles. This is normal. It is not failure. It's transition. But here's what the numbers show after the transition period. Input costs typically fall significantly. When you're buying less fertilizer, less pesticide, and using less fuel for tillage, the savings are substantial. Farmers who have completed the transition often report input cost reductions of 30 to 50% compared to their previous conventional system. At the same time, EU subsidy structures are shifting to reward exactly these practices. Eco schemes under the current CAP framework pay additional premiums for practices like cover cropping, reduced tillage, and integrated pest management. Organic certification, which is a natural endpoint for many regenerative farmers, commands premium prices in European markets that are growing year on year. The business case for regenerative farming in Europe is not just environmental. It is financial. Lower costs, premium prices, and more resilient yields over time create a farm business that is far more stable than one, dependent on high inputs and commodity prices. Now, the mistake most farmers make. Promised you at the beginning that I would share the one mistake that causes most farmers to fail when they try to go regenerative. Here it is. They try to change everything at once. They watch videos like this one. They get excited, and on the 1st of January, they decide they are going fully no-till. Fully cover-cropped, fully integrated livestock, fully rotational grazing, all at once. And by August, they are overwhelmed. They have problems they do not know how to solve, and they go back to what they know. Regenerative farming is a direction, not a destination. It is a series of small, thoughtful decisions made over years. Every field you stop tilling is progress. Every cover crop mix you plant is progress. Every hedgerow you restore is progress. The most successful regenerative farmers in Europe did not transform overnight. They picked one thing. They did it well. They observed the results. Then they picked the next thing. 5 years later, their farm looked completely different, and they understood every change deeply because they had lived it. Start small. Start now. Stay consistent. That is the formula where Europe is heading. Europe is at a genuinely exciting moment in agricultural history. The combination of policy pressure, consumer demand, climate necessity, and farmer innovation is creating the conditions for a real transformation in how food is grown on this continent. Regenerative farming sits right at the center of that transformation. It is not organic farming, though many organic farmers use regenerative methods. It is not conventional farming, though regenerative farmers absolutely care about yields and profitability. It is something new, a way of growing food that works with nature instead of against it. And that makes economic sense for the farmer who practices it. If you are a European farmer watching this video, you are already ahead of the curve. You're asking the right questions. You are looking for a better way. And that curiosity, combined with the principles we have talked about today, is exactly what this moment requires. The land is waiting. With the right approach, it will reward you beyond what you might currently believe is possible. If this video helped you, please hit the like button and leave a comment below telling me which of the 5 regenerative principles you are most interested in trying on your farm. Write the number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 and let me know. I read every single comment. And if you want to go deeper, subscribe to this channel because we are going to be covering every one of these topics in detail in the coming weeks. Cover crop selection for different European climates, rotational grazing systems, building soil organic matter fast, and much more. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.